So, what's going on over here in I Will Teach You a Language Towers? Been listening to some good music recently. Motherless Brooklyn is the new film by Edward Norton. Set in Brooklyn, funnily enough. And he's got an amazing soundtrack to this. He's recruited Wynton Marsalis and a bunch of jazz musicians to record the soundtrack from scratch. It's proper Brooklyn jazz, and it is really, really awesome. So I haven't actually seen the film yet. I'm going to go and see it later this week. But if the soundtrack is anything to go by, then it's going to be absolutely pucker. All right. Today's question comes from Joanna, and Joanna says this is from, I believe, from a YouTube video, and Joanna's asking about reading. And she's asking about the difference between extensive reading and intensive reading. And she says, at the B1 level, what percentage of your reading should be extensive versus intensive? Interesting question. So let's quickly recap the difference. So intensive reading is when you're reading a passage of text in a textbook and you're aiming to pick apart and understand every single thing, right? So you want to understand every word, you want to understand all the grammar, you're reading it intensively, right? That is intensive reading. Extensive reading is the opposite. That's where you don't really care about the meaning of every word, or a little bit of grammar confusion here or there. It doesn't matter. You're reading extensively as much as possible. Basically, you're reading for fun, right? So you've got intensive, detail, and extensive, as much as possible. And Joanna's asking about, when you're at B1 level, what should be the balance there between those different kinds of reading? Now, I remember when I was learning Japanese, I got caught out a little bit like this because I was learning very intensively for the longest time. I was trying to memorize every word, word by word. I was really trying to understand the grammar. I was taking the Nihongo Noryoku Shiken, the Japanese language, the JLPT as it's known, the sort of national Japanese test. So everything I was doing was very intensive, but I kind of hit a ceiling where it was really difficult to get beyond that. And the reason was precisely because I was studying very intensively. And it was only when I really started to switch, when I said to myself, right, no more of this. Like, I've been doing this for years now, and it's not really working. So I just started to go on a input binge. By that point, I could understand a fair bit, so I could pretty much just about start to understand things I was reading. Not everything, maybe 50-60% comprehension. But as soon as I started reading things that I was reading things that I was interested in, listening to things as well, and getting all of that input, and actually just doing it for interest rather than for language study as such, my level just really kind of went through the roof and really took off. And the reason is that I was just, when you do that, you just get so much more input, you get so much more exposure, there's so much more food to nourish your brain with. But at the B1 level, B1 being a kind of low intermediate level, that's the kind of difficult balance, right? Because you don't know quite enough yet to read really, really easily. You still got to struggle, and yet you're more advanced than your kind of beginner textbooks sort of level, So that's the tricky balance. And at that point, at the B1 level, I think you've got to, at that point, just push forward. So I would be looking at that point to start to shift more towards extensive reading. But, you may find that you need to do little bits of intensive study as well, just to kind of, just learn some of the key vocabulary or grammar that you don't know yet. So, Joanna, I hope that answers your question. It does depend a lot on what language you're learning, because if you're learning, say, French, where there are lots of cognates, and it's quite easy to decipher and guess words, that's one thing. If you're learning Chinese or Japanese, where every new word is a brand new character that you can't read or pronounce, it's much, much harder. So there's always this kind of balance, right? Similarly with Arabic, when you're trying to read Arabic, where in Arabic, they write the words and assume that you know the pronunciation, and if you don't know the word itself, you can't read it. It's really tricky. So languages that have script troubles or script difficulties do make it harder. But B1 is definitely the point where it's kind of like that now or never. If not now, when, right? If not now, when? That's the thing to start to think at when you're at the B1 level. So, if this was useful, please give me a thumbs up or a like or something like that. Send me a comment. Let me know whether at the B1 level you think it's time to start extensive reading or not. I think it definitely is. And what else have I got? Yes, we are in full-on Black Friday mode right now. If you would like to look at the offers we have on courses this Black Friday week, then it's live. Now's the time. Head over to iwillteachyoualanguage.com and you'll see some banners there that will point you in the right direction. I've got a bit of a insane deal this week as a test. I'm testing it out to see whether you guys respond to it, whether or not it's something you want, something you like. So I don't know whether we'll do this again, but we're doing it this week. So if you would like to learn a new language with me through the power of story and through a lot of reading, because that's where the magic is, then this is as good a time as any. The best time, in fact. So go over to iwillteachyoualanguage.com, click on one of the banners that you see, and that will take you to more information. So that's it for now. Thanks for your question, Joanna. If you've got questions for me, keep them coming. You can post them in the Facebook group. That's the best place. If you comment on videos, we will catch them. I don't look at Twitter that much these days. Instagram, I'll probably see it. All the social stuff. Or you could email me. How about that? I'm recording more podcasts now, so if you don't listen to the podcast, head over to the I Will Teach You a Language podcast, where we have language learning stuff flying at you from all directions. And that's it. Signing off for now. Have a wonderful evening. Oh, and actually, 15 minutes from now, if you fancy it, I'm going live with Benny Lewis, Benny the Irish Polyglot, over on his channels. So you've searched for the Fluent in 3 Months, wherever you follow them, Facebook, I don't know where, YouTube. We're going to be going live and talking about all kinds of fun things. That's in 15 minutes, 11 p.m. UK time, which would be 8 p.m. New York time. No, sorry, 6 p.m. New York time. 3 p.m. Pacific time. You can tell I'm not from there. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's happening soon anyway. All right, that's it for now. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening.